Osho Dynamic Meditation is one of a group of Osho active meditations specifically designed to allow contemporary people to experience meditation. In the past, we humans lived simpler, more innocent lives. By contrast, living as we do in today's world with all the stresses and tensions of modern society, we've become the most restless beings ever to evolve on this earth. It is almost impossible for most of us just to stop and be silent. That is why we need a radically different approach to discovering how to be calm and relaxed. The Osho active meditations are a specific response to this new situation. These active meditations, and particularly Osho Dynamic Meditation, begin with intense physical activity, building up energy, allowing us the opportunity to throw out our madness and insanity so we can all experience silence.
I would have to say that the first time I did Osho Dynamic Meditation was really one of the most shocking experiences of my life. I was so impacted by the effect of going through these components of the meditation.
I mean, first of all, it was not easy. It was not easy at all.
As a whole meditation, the hour long, it's a challenge.
It's an intense meditation. That's why it's called dynamic meditation.
Dynamic completely blew me away, and I did it pretty much every day for 8 months. It was an intense experience, completely changed who I thought I was.
It's really unbelievable. It really took me out from my little box I put myself.
First step, 10 minutes fast, chaotic breathing with no system. Fast breathing becomes a sort of hammering on the vital body, and something which is asleep begins to wake. The reservoir of your energies breaks open. The breathing is like a flood of electricity throughout the whole nervous system. You must do the first step as vigorously, as intensely as possible. You must be in it totally. Not a single fragment of you should be outside of it. Your whole being should be in the breathing in the first step.
I was breathing chaotically. And what was interesting was I started to get into a rhythm of chaotic breathing. And I could see in a way that my mind was happier when I was in this rhythm of chaotic breathing. And in that noticing, I had to change the breath. I had to constantly change my rhythm, because as soon as I was in a rhythm, my mind was comfortable. And I recognized that I had to break the comfort zone of the mind.
And I think for me, the most important thing in this stage is to have my body support the breathing. You know, because if I start moving my body, my breathing changes. You know, and using my arms and using my body to help break the pattern. Otherwise, I get into this pattern.
The first stage consists of chaotic, fast breathing through the nose, where you fill your body up with energy. And the thing with the first stage, you have to do it totally. And the more totally you do it, the breathing takes over and breathe itself. So finally you're not efforting to breathe, but the breathing just takes you and you lose control in the breathing. And you fill your body, charge your body full of energy, and prepare yourself for the rest of the meditation.
Systematic breathing cannot disturb your suppressed being. This chaotic breathing is to destroy all our systems of the past. Whatsoever you have made out of yourself, it is to destroy it. This creates a chaos within you, because unless a chaos is created, you cannot release your repressed emotions.
This breathing was very difficult, especially like the emphasis was on the out-breath, not the in-breath. And somehow after the breathing, during the breathing or also after the breathing, I realized that my shoulder was totally, like touching my head, and then I was really holding like this. Instead of breathing out, instead of letting out, I was holding something.
You breathe deeply and you watch at the same time. A breath comes in and another goes out. When you observe the movements of incoming and outgoing breaths, then you know that not only the body is separate, even the breath is separate from you. Then you know that you are only an observer, separate from both body and breath.
Initially, when I see people come for the first time, the breathing is difficult for them, especially breathing deeply. It usually stops here, or it hits the resistance point where the holding of emotion takes place, because they don't want to feel what is being liberated by the breathing. Now, dynamic meditation in the beginning, where we actually deliberately move oxygen to these places and activate them and bring them out so we can cathart them in the second stage. And it's the only way to cleanse yourself. You have to really get down there and get dirty in a way, and activate these repressed, unpleasant, late to rest emotions and feelings. Also, if once you don't breathe deeply, the second stage naturally becomes also difficult because nothing has been activated.
Only those who are ready to throw out all this rubbish can enter into meditation. As you throw it out, everything becomes light in you. The second stage is catharsis, throwing everything out so that a cleanliness can descend within you. Unless you gather courage, you won't be able to throw the rubbish out. But once you are able to do it, you will be a totally different person. So the second stage is to go completely mad.
That was really shocking to me, because I was very much in control of my emotions, and out of nowhere I started to get extremely angry. I was so angry, and what was really amazing was that there was no reason to be angry. There was nobody to be angry at. There was no situation that could create anger. It was just something in me was releasing like a pent-up rage, really. I had never been so angry before, actually.
When I shouted, I just looked around. Is anybody looking at me? Or when I started crying, I felt kind of somebody must be watching me. Probably there was some kind of conditioning which I had, that girls should not speak loud, girls should not cry loud. Let's say girls should not express their emotions. As a Korean, I was grown up in that kind of environment that girls should be silent.
It's pretty amazing what you do and how crazy you can get. And you wouldn't even believe yourself if you were watching yourself at that moment. I've felt it before. We're so confined many times. You do this, don't do that. When you're a child, don't cry, don't laugh, don't scream, don't shout. So when you start screaming and shouting and laughing and you feel free, and not only free but with an energy, you get to explode, and it's something in our adult lives. I can't think of too many methods that allow that.
Wow, the second stage changes every day, every moment actually. A lot of the time I can just sit there or stand there and I find nothing happens, and then suddenly I start to cry or I start to scream. Screaming is actually something I do a lot in the second stage. And it feels amazing to give yourself permission to scream and shout. I wear a blindfold in the meditation, and that really helps me stay with myself and really feel what's happening for me.
The second stage is releasing energy. And when you breathe totally in the first stage, what happens is that you bring so much energy charge to the body that all you have to do then is let go into the intelligence of the body. Because the body knows how to release all the old tensions and pains and hurts. And in the second stage, you allow that release to happen. You lose control. I've been somebody, when I came here and started dynamic meditation, I had a lot of control. And the dynamic really helped me to break that control in the second stage. And so all it is just listening to the intelligence of the body, and the body releases naturally the old pains and traumas.
I make sounds, but what if I want to say a big sound like no? I'm a little scared that it might disturb the people in the meditation. And then no, this is what it's about. If you need to say no, or if you need to talk crazy, if you need to laugh, you give yourself full permission. There's no right or wrong. Just let go into it.
When the catharsis of the second stage is brought to a peak, to a climax, the third 10-minute stage begins. Begin to vigorously repeat, who. It is meaningless. It is just a sound. The energy that has been awakened through breathing and expressed through catharsis now begins to move inward and upward. The mantra rechannels the energy. Before it was moving downward and outward. Now it begins to move inward and upward.
And we have had actually high-class athletes come in and try the technique, and they suddenly ran into a lot of difficulty. They were really sort of scratching their heads afterwards, like, what has happened? I can't do this. And because they were used to first of all, using more muscular strength rather than energetic strength, which comes from much deeper layers of your being.
My mind was saying, you can't do this, this is impossible. The beauty for me of doing it in a group was that I could hear everybody else doing it without stopping. So it was kind of like, well, yes, I can. My mind is saying I can't, but I know I could feel it around me that everybody else was. So that was a very nice impetus and a support for me to go through with the full time and jumping the whole time with the mantra who. And I really felt a kind of another level of energy in my body that I wasn't really aware of before. There was a source of energy that I could tap through this meditation.
Go on hammering the sound within, who, until the whole being becomes nothing but the sound. You must exhaust yourself completely. Only then does the fourth stage, the meditation, happen.
The jumping up and down, arms raised with the flats of the feet hitting the ground. For some people it's difficult, especially keeping the arms up. But what that does, if you really keep your arms up, you open that whole liver gallbladder meridian, and that really opens up your life force. And you can really become that pillar of energy. What I found helpful is to really work with the sound, because the sound has a rebound. If you really can synchronize the sound with the hitting the ground, there's a rebound. And on that rebound, after some time, you almost jump as if by itself. It jumps. It's not really you that's jumping anymore.
Suddenly I will say, stop. Then you have to stop completely, as you are. Then don't move. Don't do anything. If your hand is raised, if you are in a dancing posture, or you are jumping when you hear me calling you to stop, stop then and there. The moment you hear me, feel as if you are no more, as if you have become just a stone, a statue.
Now, the difficulty that I found most here in America is how to relate to people to stop doing. Because the collective here is so geared towards controlling through action, through doing, controlling your environment, controlling yourself through being in action, through doing something. That's why acting is such a big thing here in America. It's all about doing and action. So what I meet a lot here is that then they want to do the stop too. But it's so difficult to relate that it's not about doing the stop, it's about stopping the doing.
A single movement and you can miss the whole point.
In the stillness, the mind was amplified. It was like the mind had a microphone and it was telling me to move, like to wipe the sweat from my brow or to scratch my nose or to do anything to move. And at the outset, I would follow my mind. If my mind said, wipe your brow, I would wipe my brow. And then I started to notice that as soon as I moved, I lost the sensation of energy in my body. Because in the stillness, the thing that's most profound, let's say, was this experience of energy. Like my body had never felt so alive. I had never felt so alive. And as soon as I listened to my mind and followed my mind, I lost that sensation. And it's such a wonderful feeling that eventually I just wanted to stay in the energy of it. I wanted to stay with my hands up. I didn't want to move because I knew immediately that I would lose the blissfulness of the stillness.
Allow the body to move in dance, feeling the subtle energy of grace and joy. Just to be is such a great celebration. The fifth step is not a state, it is your being. The first four are states, steps. The fifth is your own being, it is your nature, but nothing can be said about it. If you come to the fourth, the fifth will happen to you, that much is certain. If you can come to a total silence in the fourth, then the fifth will happen. It is absolute silence.
When you start dancing, whatever you feel in that moment, again, it's brought me into my everyday life, that I started feeling that anything can be celebrated.
Easiest way to see the results is to walk home after dynamic and hear the birds chirp and really keep that space of celebration even as you walk home. I've been doing it in New York City, and it's even possible in New York City.
This meditation is an experiment in totality. You will get results according to how total you are. If you hold yourself back even a little, then there will be no results. You have to jump into it totally. It cannot work if you spare yourself. And the process is such that you can jump into it totally. It is not difficult.
So in dynamic meditation, to be total means to not hold anything back, to bring your total energy and life to this technique. If you don't do that, what usually happens is either one economizes or one gives space for the mind, for the dreaming mind to come back in. And what happens then is the energy is not able to build and come to a climax than in the stop stage. So initially it is really about doing the best you can, being as total as you can, so you really bring the energy up to that climax that comes to this, that happens at the stop.
When I did it with totality, then there's no pain. Maybe there is a pain, maybe the body feels some pain, but what I'm telling you is like, you know, there is some kind of, how you say, like, some kind of feeling that I have completed, I have done it with the totality. I didn't leave anything behind, but I was totally into it. Then this kind of fulfillment makes like myself totally rich.
This was really the meditation that required the most commitment and the most totality. It required my totality in my breath. It required the totality of my body, of my stillness, of my dance, of my celebration. It's really the meditation of totality.
And throughout the meditation, I lose that totality, you know, and then I have to remind myself to come back and start again. But that, for me, is my meditation.
I begin with your insanity, not with a sitting posture. I allow your insanity. If you dance madly, the opposite happens within you. With a mad dance, you begin to be aware of a silent point within you. With silent sitting, you begin to be aware of madness. The opposite is always the point of awareness. With your dancing madly, chaotically, with crying, with chaotic breathing, I allow your madness. Then you begin to be aware of a subtle point, a deep point inside you which is silent and still in contrast to the madness on the periphery. You will feel very blissful. At your center, there is an inner silence.
Now simply you stop doing anything and you start watching. What happens when you really stop watching, all that energy that has built up in the previous stages, it's almost as if it jumps in an empty ground and it can become pure awareness. It's a pure raised state of energy where you're very alert, very aware because you're awake, your body, your blood is oxygenized, your energy has risen, and in that state something of meditation can happen.
When Osho says, living your life with totality, because totality really gives you some kind of energy and really makes you very fresh and very alive each and every moment. Even though you work hard, you work physically hard, but your spirit, your energy stays as fresh as it was. And that was really very, very beautiful experience for me. And yeah, and then probably that is the reason I really love this meditation.
The magic of the meditation is the immediacy of the meditation. You do this once and it will change your life. And if you keep practicing, it's like every time you do it, there's more to see, more to understand about who you are as a human being, as an individual.
Because I really got in touch with some deep source of energy, and I couldn't believe how much energy I have. And through the whole day, I was so energetic. People were asking me, what is it? What's happening with you?
Because it's a meditation of energy. And what it does is it allows energy to open up and release throughout the whole body. And when one can allow that, then one is connected to themselves, to others, and to the whole.
I would have said dynamic will change your life for the better. Now I'd have to say, just do it.
If you want exercise, you can go to the gym. This meditation will give you exercise too. But the real point is meditation. And if you want to taste it, there's no other hour that I know about in 1 hour that can give it to you.
I think dynamic can be really a profound tool in your life, an instrument that can really help you live your daily life in the full awareness and expression and totality. Enjoy dynamic meditation.